Hello, I'm Bảo Ngọc. Welcome to Daily News in English. Today's headlines are:
President meets Myanmar Vice President. Prime Minister calls for cooperation in water use. International Francophone Day marked in Hanoi.
On March 20th, President Trương Tấn Sang met with Myanmar Vice President Nguyen Thun, who is on his first official visit to Vietnam.
The two sides voiced their pleasure at their developing relations, especially in politics, external relations, security, national defense, trade, investment, agriculture, aviation, and tourism. They affirmed to boost cooperation in petroleum and mineral exploitation and between their localities. The Myanmar leader thanked the president for affirming Vietnam's support to Myanmar as ASEAN chair in 2014. He pledged to work closely with Vietnam as well as other ASEAN nations to prepare for the position. Sang also affirmed that Vietnam is willing to assist and share its experience with Myanmar in organizing the 2013 SEA Games. Earlier the same day, Nguyen Thun held talks with his Vietnamese counterpart Nguyễn Thị Doan. The two sides agreed that it is necessary to further strengthen their cooperation in all fields. The two sides agreed to raise two-way trade to at least $500 million by 2015 and expand cooperation in promising areas such as agroforestry, fisheries, finance and banking, telecommunication, transport, oil and gas, and tourism. Doan said she hopes Myanmar will continue to create favorable conditions for Vietnamese businesses to invest in Myanmar and shorten the licensing process for Vietnamese projects. They agreed on the importance of maintaining peace, stability, security, maritime safety, and freedom in the East Sea. While in Vietnam, the Vice President of Myanmar met with the Association of Vietnamese Investors in Myanmar to discuss how to accelerate trade and investment ties between the two countries. He told the Vietnamese businesses that Myanmar has focused on addressing difficulties and technical barriers facing foreign investors, including those from Vietnam. In order to attract more foreign investment, the government of Myanmar will continue creating favorable conditions for foreign investors, he said, adding that improving the investment and business environment and completing relevant legal regulations are his country's priorities.
Prime Minister Nguyễn Tấn Dũng has called for nations lying on the upper reaches of the Red River and Mekong River to share water resources and work with Vietnam in making these rivers peaceful, bringing prosperity to all countries.
The Prime Minister made the call at the meeting to mark World Water Day in Mekong Delta city of Cần Thơ on March 21st. Dũng said cooperation in water issue will contribute importantly to reducing poverty, promoting social equality, and creating better living conditions and education opportunities, especially for women and children, thus realizing successfully all United Nations Millennium Development Goals. He called on organizations, individuals, sectors and localities to use water in an economic way to mitigate impacts of drought and flood, treat water pollution and combat sea level rise.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs held a function to mark International Francophone Day in Hanoi on March 20th. Let's take a look.
Deputy Minister Nguyễn Phương Nga affirmed Vietnam's policy of fostering cooperation with the International Organization of the Francophonie and its members. She praised the French-speaking community's activities to raise its role in the international arena. She lauded its contributions to solving global issues relating to peace, security, and sustainable development over the past years. Anissa Barak, International Organization of the Francophonie representative to Asia-Pacific, applauded Vietnam's contributions to the community's activities and its role in the Francophone movements in Asia. She mentioned the cooperation between Vietnam and the organization in promoting the use of the French language. The same day, French Honorable Awards were presented to two Vietnamese, Tôn Nữ Thị Ninh and Tường Huyền Trâm, for their contributions to the French-speaking movements in Vietnam.
The Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment held a ceremony in Hanoi on March 20th to mark World Meteorological Day. This year's event is themed Watching the Weather to Protect Life and Property.
Statistics show that from 1997 to 2011, natural disasters, including storms and droughts, left more than 10,000 people dead or missing and caused property damage equal to 1.5% of the country's GDP. However, current hydrometeorology calculations are still inadequate, especially for the forecast of storms that affect offshore fishing and oil and gas production. The accuracy of weather forecasts depends on many things, such as technology and the quality of equipment. What we can do is raise awareness and the responsibility of organizations to use the data in a more effective manner. In an effort to liquidate the impacts, the government has assigned the ministry to work with relevant agencies and localities to implement measures to improve the capacity and quality of weather forecasts. Tasks focus on developing legal documents on weather forecasts, modernizing the observation network, and raising the sense of responsibility among the public in coping with natural disasters.
Vietnam's Directorate of Fisheries has voiced its strong opposition to the U.S. Department of Commerce's decision to choose Indonesia as the sole benchmark country to calculate the anti-dumping rate on Vietnam's char fish. It said it will bring the case to the U.S. Court of International Trade.
The Directorate's Deputy Director General Phạm Anh Tuấn made the statement at a recent interview with Vietnam News Agency. The move follows a decision on March 14th by the department in the 8th administrative review of the anti-dumping duty order on certain catfish fillets from Vietnam. Under the decision, Vietnamese char exporters will have to pay much higher duties, from at least $0.19 to $0.77 to $3.87 per kilo. It is unfair for the department to replace Bangladesh with Indonesia as the reference country to calculate the anti-dumping tax levels on Vietnam's imported char fish, as Vietnam and Indonesia do not share similarities in comparable socio-economic conditions, pricing and financial data, or have comparable subjects of fish species. According to Tuấn, the Directorate's members and their lawyers will use these three differences as the legal foundation to file their responses to the lawsuit. Tuấn also called on domestic farmers, processors and exporters to stay calm to solve the issue, while drawing up marketing plans to move into emerging markets other than traditional channels like the U.S. On March 21st, the Vietnamese Foreign Ministry reaffirmed that the Vietnamese firms do not dump frozen char fish fillets and other aquatic products in the U.S. market.
Consumer Price Index decreased slightly in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City in March. Our reporters have more.
In Hanoi, the index fell by 0.21% compared to the previous month, equivalent to a year-on-year increase of 5.7%. According to the Hanoi Statistics Office. The decrease follows the annual general rule. After each Lunar New Year Tet Festival, food prices stabilize and return to the level of preceding months. Ho Chi Minh City's Consumer Price Index in March saw a slight decrease of 0.29%. The Municipal Statistics Office said slight decreases were seen in 6 out of 11 commodity baskets. The price of gold fell by 2.94%, while the US dollar price rose by 1.20% compared to last month's figures.
And that's all for today. We thank you for watching and see you next time.